Yo guys, welcome back to another video. Today we're going to go over the Whirlwind Barbarian for Season 28, specifically the variant that's going to be for Paragon farming. Now one thing that I will note about this build is that it is not really the best build in Season 28 when it comes to Paragon farming. It's probably somewhere on the B tier. As far as the spin to win build goes, it's definitely outclassed by the Gears of the Dreadland Demon Hunter. But if this is what you're interested in, let's go ahead and dive into it. It's still pretty good. I've been able to do speed GR 115s pretty consistently with it, under 3 minutes, and my gear is not fully augmented, it's not fully ancient, and so I'm sure with enough gear and perhaps paragons you could probably be farming up to GR 120, maybe even 125. Let's go ahead and dive in and start with some of the skills and passives. First off, we're going to take Rend with Bloodbath, and while we're doing speed runs, we're not really going to be using this at all. We really just want it on our bar so that we get the Bloodbath rune while we're automatically applying Rend to enemies with our Whirlwind. Next up, we'll be taking Whirlwind with Wind Shear. This will keep us moving at 100% movement speed and gaining Fury for each enemy we strike. Sprint with Marathon is just going to keep us moving faster. We're going to take Furious Charge with Merciless Assault. We're going to be able to use this very quickly to hop from Elite to Elite because this is an Ingeon build. Next up, I like to take Ignore Pain with Bravado so that we can gain additional movement speed. There are alternative options in this slot, so let's go ahead and dive into some of those. If you're looking for a little bit more toughness or you need some survivability, Warcry with Impunity is not a bad option. Also, you could look into taking Battle Rage with Into the Fray for additional crit hit chance. Lastly, we're going to go ahead and take Wrath of the Berserker. The rune on it does not particularly matter because we are using Mordic Brace on our character and gaining the effect of every rune. Moving into the passives, we're going to take Boon of Bolcathos to reduce the cooldown on our Wrath of the Berserker. We want this up as much as possible. We'll also be taking Rampage for additional strength, Brawler for additional damage while there are at least 3 enemies around us, and lastly, we'll be taking Pound of Flesh. This is going to keep us moving faster. Moving along to the gear, we are going to be using the 6-piece waist set. Starting with the helm, you're going to want Strength, Vitality, Crit Chance, and a socket with a diamond in it. For the shoulders, we're also going to be taking the waist set. Strength is good. All Resist or Vitality is good. However, you're going to want to drop one of them so that you can get additional Rend damage. Lastly, you're going to want to take cooldown reduction. We'll be taking a Squirt's Necklace, physical damage, crit, and a socket. I do recommend using Molten Will to be schizored in this build to protect your Squirt's Necklace buff. Now for the gloves, you are going to want crit, cooldown. Strength is okay, however attack speed is better if you can roll it. For the chest piece, Strength, All Resist or Vitality, Rend damage, and 3 sockets with diamonds in them. As we had mentioned earlier, we're also taking Mordic Brace in this build. Physical damage, Strength, Vitality, and Crit Chance are the stats you're going to want. On the belt slot, we're going to be taking Lamination. This is not particularly a great roll. Ideally, you're going to want Strength, Vitality, Resist all elements, and then Armor or Percent Life. The secondary roll is incredibly important, and that's why I took this belt. It can go up to 150%, and it is incredibly important to get this rolled as high as possible. We'll also be taking Focus and Restraint in this build. Strength is okay. You're absolutely going to want the crit, socket. However, instead of strength, average damage is a little better if you can roll it. For the focus, you're going to want the same stats, average damage, crit, socket. For your legendary gems, I do recommend going with Taeguk and Bane of the Trapped. We'll also be taking the waist set for our pants slot. Strength, Vitality, Resist all elements, 2 sockets with diamonds in them are going to do just fine. And for our final piece of the waist set, we're going to be going with the boots. Strength, Vitality, Resist all elements, and Armor are going to be the stats you want. Now, moving along to the weapons. Ambo's Pride is what makes this build work. Attacking with Whirlwind also applies Rend, and the total damage of Rend is dealt over 1 second. And for the stats on this weapon, Strength is good. You would rather have 10% damage instead of Vitality, and you're going to want that cooldown reduction, a socket from the Romulandi's Gift with an emerald in it. On the offhand, we're going to be using Ingeon. This is an elite hunting build. Once we kill our first elite pack, we can spam Furious Charge to get to the next pack incredibly quickly. For the stats on your Ingeon, the same applies. We're going to want percent damage, strength, cooldown reduction, and a socket with an emerald in it. Okay, moving over to the cube, we're going to be taking the Furnace. This is an elite hunting build. This is going to allow us to take them out incredibly quickly. We'll also be using Mantle of Channeling for damage reduction and additional damage. Lastly, Band of Might so that we can stay alive. We're going to be using Furious Charge a lot to gain 80% damage reduction for up to 8 seconds. Moving on to the follower, I do recommend going with the Enchantress, primarily for the 10% cooldown reduction that she offers right here. Now, it's also worth noting that in order to get this full 10% benefit, she needs to have at least 25,000 intelligence. Now for the token on your follower, you can either use the one where your follower cannot die, or if you have a very geared and tanky follower, feel free to use the one that unlocks all skills. My Barbarian is certainly not fully developed yet. In fact, none of my gear is even augmented, and I do not have my follower decked out yet, so I am going to go with this. Just make sure that you've got the essential items on your follower and that they're staying alive. You're going to want to make sure that you've got the Flavor of Time, Nemesis Bracers, Oculus Ring, and Gloves of Worship. And if you're not using the token that unlocks all of the skills, I do recommend going with Temporal Pulse. You're absolutely going to need Prophetic Harmony to keep Wrath of the Berserker up as much as possible. Powered Shield is also good, and for this last slot, you can either take Focused Mind for the additional attack speed, or you can go with Fate's Lapse if you find yourself dying a lot. Well guys, that just about does it for this video. I'm going to go ahead and put up a GR115 speedrun just so that you guys can kind of see how the build plays. Go ahead and drop a comment down below. Let me know how you feel about the Whirlwind Barbarian in Season 28. As always guys, I genuinely appreciate you for watching. Thank you so much, and I'll catch you on the next one.
They say that love is blind, but I never trusted sight. When I turn and look inside, there's nothing I can't find. In the silence of the night, when my demons come alive, I hear a voice disguised, telling me we're not alright.